The IRS just slammed the door on a lifeline a lot of their own people were counting on. I'm talking about hardship telework. For years, IRS employees in really serious situations, domestic violence, major medical issues like being immunocompromised after a transplant, family crises, could get hardship based full time telework approved so they could stay safe and keep working. Many of their jobs easily can be done from home. Now, per an internal memo, those hardship requests that were sitting in the pipeline, they're being closed out. Not denied after an individualized review, just closed. And the memo points to the return to office mandate from the top as the reason. On paper, you're now generally limited to 5 days of telework a year. You can still submit hardship requests, but they have to go all the way up to leadership or human capital, which is already buried in paperwork. There's a backlog of thousands of reasonable accommodation requests. Many of those might be illegal. There's no reason for a backlog. The IRS has a lot of money. So if you're sitting there thinking, I guess my safety or my health just became less important than a badge swipe, you're not imagining that feeling and you might not be alone. Here's what I need you to hear very clearly. A return to office memo or policy does not ever erase your rights under the Rehab Act. They would lose that argument legally. The Rehab Act is still the law. It comes first. If you're a qualified employee with a disability and telework is a reasonable way to let you do your job, your agency still has to seriously consider that. They have to engage in an interactive process with you. They have to look at your actual duties, your medical limitations, and what actually would be an undue hardship. And, we don't like telework anymore is not an undue hardship for a rich federal agency. What I'm saying, and I represent federal employees all over the country, is that agencies trying to blur the lines between three different things. That's occurring. So we got regular telework programs, hardship telework as a courtesy, and telework as a reasonable accommodation for disability. They're trying to blur the lines, but those are distinct. They may be allowed to tighten or even kill their optional hardship telework program legally, but they cannot just quietly fold disability-related telework into that and pretend the Rehab Act doesn't exist. So let me give you a few red flags that tell me you may have a strong rehab case at the IRS or any other agency if you're a federal employee. You ask for telework because of a documented medical condition, and instead of talking with you and your doctor, they just send back a form letter about returning to the office. They take months and months to make a decision while you're burning through sick leave or unpaid leave, and the only interim accommodation they offer is a tiny chunk of telework that keeps expiring. They say things like, we don't do telework accommodations anymore, or nobody can telework more than 5 days a year now, so we can't approve yours. Or your hardship telework request gets closed en masse with everybody else's, even though what you were really asking for was telework because of your own disability. Those are the kinds of patterns that make my ears perk up as a federal employee attorney. The law still requires an individualized assessment and a real explanation of why your accommodation would be an undue hardship. Agencies don't get to sidestep that by changing the label on the program. Right? Now, of course, I'm not giving you legal advice about your specific areas in a video. Your facts matter. Your medical documentation matters. But if you're an IRS employee or any Fed who's watching this and thinking, this is exactly what they just did to me, it's absolutely worth considering talking to a qualified attorney who understands federal employment and the Rehab Act. You deserve to be safe, to protect your health, and to have your rights taken seriously, even in a return to office world. You're not being difficult for wanting that. If this hits close to home, share it with a coworker who's quietly going through the same thing. And in the comments, I would generally want to hear from you your thoughts about anything related to this. Do you think agencies are using return to office as cover to get rid of telework accommodations? Where should the line be between mission needs and your basic safety and health? Can many of the jobs at the IRS be done remotely? Is remote work a good idea? Have you seen managers lean on the phrase undue hardship without ever explaining what that means? If you're at the IRS, how is this new hardship policy really playing out on the ground where you work? Interested to hear everybody's thoughts. Thank you everybody for your support. Take care and have a great day.